Hi, this is Nick Freitas, and welcome back to Making the Argument. So today, we're going to be talking about Israel and Palestine. Obviously, this has been leading in the news lately. We got several rocket attacks coming from Gaza into Israel. Israel has responded with military strikes. It's now escalating into a ground invasion, and we're all wondering what's going to happen next, because it wasn't just a few months ago when all of a sudden we were talking about historic peace deals between Israel and the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. It seemed like things were going in a positive direction, and all of that has just been destroyed over the last couple of weeks. And so what I thought we'd do on this podcast is, rather than just give you kind of an over-the-world assessment of what's currently going on, I think it's important to actually talk about the history of this conflict. Because this didn't start yesterday, right? This didn't start a couple of weeks ago. This has been going on for decades, and anybody that's been alive for a while knows that. And so I think it's important that we do an honest overview about what's going on here, both within Israel. What sort of a state is it? What sort of Israeli military actions have been justified? Which ones are potentially questionable? How has the Palestinian Authority, before that the Palestine Liberation Organization, Hamas, how have they behaved? And how do we make sense of some of the comments that we see coming out right now, predominantly on the left, whether it's AOC or Rashida Tlaib? You know, they obviously seem to be very, very pro-Palestinian, and they've made some remarks about the state of Israel, calling it an apartheid state. And what I want to do is let's go over and let's do an honest review, and let's ask ourselves the question: is that if we were in the same position that Israel is right now, or if we're in the same position that the Palestinians are right now, what would we expect our leaders to do? What would be our reaction as individuals? And so we're going to go a quick history. That's what we're going to spend this podcast doing. All right. So let's go ahead and start off at the very beginning. What is the Israeli state? Like, what does that mean? Well, in 1948, UN Resolution 181 established two states in what we commonly refer to as Palestine. And if you're wondering what Palestine is, Palestine was a name that was originally given by the Romans when it used to be the Judean province. They changed it to Palestine. And it's changed hands so many times throughout history, and we're going to go over that a little bit. But what the Israeli state is, it was established in 1948 by a UN resolution, and it was one of two states that were established. There was a Palestinian state, and there was an Israeli state. The Israelis accepted the terms and conditions under the UN resolution, and then the Palestinians in the Arab countries bordering it did not accept it, and they immediately invaded. All right, but that's what Israel is as a state. All right, now, the borders have changed significantly over time. We're going to talk about that. All right, so the first question is this: do the Jewish people have any sort of claim to this particular area?